It usually comes from a deep place of pain of being in the wrong job and a deep desire to find something better, and then realizing that process doesn't have to be so crazy, confusing, or insanely hard, and then wanting to help other people do the same thing. If you have a heart to go help, like go help. If you have a heart to create, go create. And if people don't believe in you, that's okay. Have compassion on them. I
Today, I will be interviewing Kelsey Kemp to learn more about what it's like to work as a career coach. Fun fact, Kelsey is actually also the founder of Job Dictionary. So, this is an extra special interview. Kelsey, thank you for being here today.
Well, I'm glad to be here. I think it'd be really funny if I weren't because I realized like, oh, I guess we could put career coach as a job on Job Dictionary because that's what I've been doing the last 6 years before starting Job Dictionary. So it's kind of funny to be in the hot seat.
Yeah, of course. You're like, wait, we might want to include this one. This might be a little bit helpful. I probably should have an input in this.
I guess so.
That's too funny. So, just to go ahead and get started, Kelsey, three questions that we always like to start off with are in your own words, what do you do? Where do you live? And then as a kid, what did you want to be when you grew up?
Yeah. So I am a career coach. That means a lot of different things, as I'll
Hmm.
describe further on in the interview. But I help specifically Christians find out what they feel called to do and then practically land a job or start a business that's aligned with it. So that's my particular niche within career coaching. You could have a lot of different niches. My business or company that I started or what it's called is the Called Career. So you could look that up on thecalledcareer.com. So that's been my whole thing with career coaching. But otherwise, I, as you mentioned, also am the founder of Job Dictionary. So if somebody's on this, I don't know, wherever they're listening or watching or on our website, they'll know what
Hmm.
that is. I just wanted to
Yeah.
create a bigger and more free way to help a lot more people just with information, not just through one-on-one sessions like I do
Yeah.
through the Called Career, but Job Dictionary is something where I still am helping people find their thing. It's still the same mission, but I think I'm just solving more of the awareness problem to help
Exactly.
them find out about all those jobs out there they didn't know exist, and maybe one of them will really spark inspiration in
Yeah.
them as they read about it. So where I live in Austin, Texas, and I, as a kid, really wanted to be I always said, I want to be an inventor. That was like my 6-year-old answer. I was really stuck on that. Um, and as I grew up, I realized that that's kind of called entrepreneurship. So,
Mhm.
I guess I really did stick with it. My other answer was always I want to be an artist, and I wanted to be both. I didn't want to give them up. So,
Uh-huh.
I mean, a lot of the paintings around me or behind me, I've actually done myself, and I was
Wow.
um, on track to become a professional ballet dancer before I went to college. So,
Wow.
art is
So
still a part of my life.
exactly, different methods of art, and technically, you still are an inventor. So your
Yeah,
6-year-old
yeah.
self kind of knew. She knew what she was talking about. She just had a simplified vision of it.
Isn't that cute? That's why I really, really believe in asking that question, like, "What did you wanna be when you grew up?" Because listen to that little kid, they probably knew something.
That is so sweet. That's so much better than mine. My answer was always dinosaur. From 3 to 6, that I was so set. I was so set on being a
Oh
dinosaur.
my gosh, you should meet my neighbor's dog, its name is Dinosaur, and when I hear it barking, I'm always like, "Dinosaur, shh."
Dinosaur. That's too funny. Okay, Kelsey, so tell us a little bit about how long you've been working in this field.
6 years. Actually, I just hit my little business birthday. I accidentally quit my
Mhm.
job on Friday the 13th, which is hilarious.
Oh, no.
I say accidentally because my last day was supposed to be the week before, but the company asked me to stay on a little longer. And I was like, "Oh,
So
perfect. Lucky
yeah,
Friday the 13th. What a
you're
day to
like,
start a business."
I don't really have any other choice. This is what we're rolling with. And
Yeah.
what made you wanna get into this career path? So how did you kind of get your start?
Yeah, maybe plenty of other career coaches will resonate with this. It usually comes from a deep place of pain of being in the wrong job and a
Mm.
deep desire to find something better, and then realizing that process doesn't have to be so crazy, confusing, or insanely hard, and then wanting to help other people do the same thing. So if I had to like give an archetype to this story, that was mine. But
Yeah.
the specifics were I studied supply chain management in college and graduated in 2016. And then I didn't know what I wanted to do. So I just kind of everybody at the time was like, "Oh, consulting is like the impressive thing, and it'll open up a world of options as you figure out more of what you want." And so I got a job in tech consulting with PwC, and that was a great firm to be a part of. Got to work on some big projects and get a lot of responsibility as a young person. But
Mhm.
honestly, it was just so emotionally and physically draining for me because I honestly did not care about the subject matter of my work. I didn't really care to learn
Yeah.
about the intricacies of overhauling like old IBM mainframe databases. I was like, this just is not me. But I was really worried about being a entitled millennial that like,
Yeah.
oh, can I just not like take the heat? Or I had to do some soul searching of like, why am I really not liking this? Could I make myself like it? And then I
Mhm.
ultimately came to the realization that that's kind of just like a waste of time. And
Yeah.
I there's probably something out there that I would love to go full force on. And realizing that I had so much empathy and passion for helping people who feel like they're wasting their life in a job that is
Mhm.
not them, but being really worried that you won't be able to land anything better or dream jobs don't exist. That I like honestly it could at the time like it could really make me cry. Like it was such a problem that I was so sad about. And so
Yeah.
that's why I was like, "Ugh, I have to do it," even though I was 24 at the time, and I knew it looked really
Wow.
stupid for a 24-year-old with one full-time job out of college to be like, "I could help you find your calling," but it was
I
like a
know what you should
spiritual
do.
thing too. I just, like, really felt like that's what God was calling me to do, and it was so humbling for especially the first 2 or 3 years. But it's been paying off so big since then, and that's
Yeah.
why the headline on the job dictionary website is "Your dream job exists. You probably just don't know what it's called yet."
Yeah, I love that. And I love that you bring that perspective to the table. It's so refreshing because I'm sure that there's so many people, even listening to this episode right now, that have that anxiety and that burden, weighing on their heart where it's like, I don't know what I want to do. I want to be financially stable. I want to look impressive to my family and my friends. I
Yeah.
want to look this, I want to be that, but they don't feel that correct fit. So I'm sure just hearing you say that is, a source of comfort for not only myself, but for people that can be listening to this
I
episode.
hope so. It could work out. Like, I just want people to know it could all work out.
Yeah, of course. Are there any certifications or degrees that are required to be a career coach?
Yeah, luckily, no. Like, anybody could like make their way into this profession without paying a bunch of money for a particular certification. The coaching industry in general is not regulated. So, whether that means you're a life coach or whatever, or a career coach,
Mm.
there's no regulatory body. There are some that claim to be, but nobody's like requiring licenses to practice. That being said, I did choose to take a certification because, as I mentioned, the chips were stacked against me as a bright-eyed, bushy-tailed 24-year-old. So I
Yeah.
wanted to do whatever I could to gain some skills and credibility in knowing how to lead someone through a transformative conversation. So I did not take uh, I'm not even sure if there I'm sure somebody has invented one. There are so many people out there that are very willing to take your money, trust me. I'm sure someone has invented a career coaching certification, but I didn't see those at the time, so I just did a general life coaching certification with some specialty additional courses that they offered for career coaches or leadership coaches. So life coaching, obviously being more of the like life direction and like figure out what you want and your values and all this stuff, and then empower you to work through your mindset blocks to go and get it, um,
Mm,
is one fundamental skill set that's helpful and necessary if you want to go through more of the career direction counseling to help your clients with that. But otherwise, if you just want to help them with more of the technical skills of uh, like getting together a really exceptional resume, LinkedIn profile, networking strategy, interview, confidence, and negotiation skills for negotiating your offer. That I think if anybody tries to like certify you in that, I think that's probably a waste of money. You probably
got
should
it.
just be doing a lot of your own research and testing. And there's a
Yeah.
lot of information out there for free. So if you just like pretty much do all of the research for your clients and bring them the very best of like, in the year of our Lord, April
Mhm.
2024, here's the best techniques that we have, that would
Yeah.
save them a lot of time.
Got it. And would you say that the certification that you pursued, is that something that you would recommend to any aspiring career coaches?
Good question. It was very, very expensive. I'm
Mhm.
not sure what IPEC, that stands for, by the way, the Institute of Professional Excellence in Coaching, I think, but it's just
Okay.
IPEC coaching. Um, I am not sure what they charge now. At the time, this is 6 years ago, it was like $12,000.
Wow.
So that's a lot of money. It took me 9
Yeah.
months to go through, and it had like 3 in-person training weekend components in addition to all the weekly online things. So I would say it's quite involved. They weren't charging that money for nothing. But I do think that um I really also liked this other certification that I went through. I did an neurolinguistics programming certification. It's NLP for short, but
Okay.
neurolinguistic programming is another like mindset coaching method, because in career coaching, you'll realize you do get some technical questions for sure about how do I respond to this kind of interview question? How do I do market research for my salary negotiation, like the number that I'm proposing? But a lot of it is regulating emotions and working through all your own stuff. And so
Yeah.
NLP was, to me, even more powerful to that end. And I learned some things that even changed my life a lot and helped me become a much more effective person that doesn't have so much internal drama in my head. So
Of course.
the company I used for that was Transform Destiny, kind of a cheesy name, but honestly, that company operates with a ton of integrity, has very competitive and, to me, low pricing for what they're offering. And I've done like many different trainings with them and really trust that as a recommended source. Again, not required, but certainly can help you become more effective in making sure that you're handling client situations, i.e., their mindset and their emotions, in a very delicate and respectful way, because it could be easy to bulldoze some people who don't have skills. They'll true coaching skills, will just
Right.
ask a lot of close-ended questions that subconsciously guide the client to accomplish the coach's objective, but a good coach will actually help the client figure out what their agenda is and accomplish that through a more exploratory process with open-ended questions. That's just one example of what I learned, and a lot of people don't naturally practice that skill.
Yeah, that sounds like kind of like having to juggle like two different aspects of the job and having to kind of like merge them together, like the psychological aspect, but also the strategy and all the business side of it. So I'm
That's
sure
a
that
good
was kind of
observation.
beneficial. Yeah.
Yeah,
Are there different types of career coaches or do they sometimes go by different titles?
I think that in terms of titles, some people will choose interesting titles for themselves that kind of just mean the same thing. Um, you might be able to tell that I've been speaking from just a self-employed perspective. So I started my own small business to be just a free agent as a career coach. But I do want to call out that there are career coaching 9 to 5 jobs that you can get with a regular company. So big corporations are hiring internal career coaches, sometimes full time, which is great if you just want, if business building and entrepreneurship is really not your thing, but you want to help people with the way you're hearing me describe. That could be a good option for you. You're just not going to have as much creative freedom, which was
Okay.
important to me. Um, but oftentimes career coach is just the title it goes under, but some self-employed people will be like, I'm a career strategist or I'm a
Mm,
career expert. Sometimes executive or leadership coaching is like a similar thing, but it is different.
okay.
I think listeners, if they're interested, can Google stuff about that. Uh, and it, I will spend more time though talking about, are there different types of career coaches, as you asked? So,
Mhm.
like I just said, there's generally self-employed and like traditionally employed career coaches. In terms of traditionally employed career coaches, you might be able to get a range of part-time, full-time, remote, on-site, hybrid, whatever jobs. I think that's a growing field, or a growing market that more companies are in the market to hire them as a part of their HR staff.
Okay.
And then self-employment, this is the one where it takes on as many forms as there are people, really. And so I'll put this into a few easy to understand buckets. So let's range them in terms of uh, a lot of one-on-one interaction with clients to pretty much no interaction with clients, and you're just selling information. So
Got it.
on the top end, let's say I am a person that just wants to have meaningful conversations with people one on one and help them through their big life and career challenges
Mm,
all day long. And that's how I started. And it's a good way to start because it'll give you the most in-depth, tangible experience. Um, Instead of just going the like, I'm a content creator route and I'm gonna like compile all this information on the internet and A/B test stuff and then publish what works. As a one-on-one career coach, you are in the trenches with somebody,
yeah.
helping them through like, I just cried over losing that job opportunity. And I think it's really good to start that way. But then you might say, I want a little bit more time freedom. And so it's common to change your offering to maybe you want more of a hybrid of, I offer group coaching for my clients and then some one-on-one sessions. That's what the called career has moved to. So clients actually get, in the way we offer it, more support because they're basically able to get on a call with either Audrey, my teammate, and I most any day of the week. Plus, if it's
Got it.
something more sensitive, um, they really just want to talk it out one on one, they're able to also, as a part of our service, just book like a one on one call with Audrey or whoever. And so you could change to that, or you could go the full on, I have total asynchronous communication. I don't want to be in meetings. I don't want to, maybe you don't really like emotionally charged conversations, honestly.
Hmm.
Maybe you're just a knowledge person and you're not a big empathy person. I'm not
Right,
criminalizing that.
right.
It just kind of is what it is.
Yeah.
Um, and maybe you just want to be a content creator that posts on LinkedIn like 3 times a day, plus your podcast or YouTube or TikTok about like all these career hacks. And then you sell digital products or courses that are related to that.
I
So you
see.
could, I know that the salary question comes later, but you could be making no money on all of that if you're starting out like me. Like when I
Yeah.
was starting out, I was poor. That's a technical term. And or as you grow into it, like you might be making like 40,000 a year, or a lot once they like really figure things out, they'll be making like 100,000 a year. I would say that's like the experienced career coach. Or if you're
Got it.
like, I'm a content superstar just selling like at mass these courses and digital products, you might be making 1 million or more in annual revenue. But in self-employment, you really
Wow.
need to know that revenue is not the same as profit. And some people have like high operating expense plus high taxes with self-employment. So expect the take home pay to, I don't know, be 50
Very.
to 60% of that.
Wow. Okay, so that's pretty interesting. There's different kind of forms, and with that comes different tasks and different pay, but kind of all within the same umbrella. Some different goals, actually, like you were
Yeah.
mentioning.
Yeah. That's a great way to summarize that. Yeah. Because it's really what is the goal of the person who wants to give their life in service in this way?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. Now, walk us through a day in the life as a
Mhm.
career coach. So let's talk, clock in, clock out. What percentage of the time are you by yourself, collaborating, meeting with clients? Talk to us about that.
I will answer from the perspective of about a year ago, I think, because like we've talked about, I'm really working hard on Job Dictionary now, and I have a
Mhm.
team with the called career. So I'm much more in the position of CEO rather than career coach at this point in time.
Right. You're
But
just supervising.
when, yeah, exactly. When I was just a career coach, I would say, um, I'll reiterate again, this job is one that it's truly whatever you want it to be. And so I, in different seasons of my life, have wanted it to look like a lot of different things. I've been like, "Oh, I'm ready to attack and, like, work a lot." And then other times where, like, my dad had a heart attack and then it was Snowmageddon in Texas, if anybody remembers that, and I was like, "I am working, like, 10 hours a week for a little while,
Yeah.
and that's okay." Um
Mm.
and especially if you have more like retainer clients that you're selling service packages that are months at a time, you can have these fluctuations in your week to week and day to day. But on the whole, my day in the life was maybe start work at 8 or 9, and, then I'll maybe end at around 5 or 6, but there will be creative breaks, throughout the day, because I would say that there's a lot of thinking time, and I don't think I'm alone in this as a career coach. There's a lot of thinking time on, like, trying to think through, like, "Oh, okay, uh, John, a client that I'm supporting is like really stuck on this problem, or like,
Mm.
why hasn't he been getting breakthrough in like
Yeah.
interviews? And so I'll be thinking through like, what do we need to do? And um, or I'll get an email of like a client that says like, here's the rundown this week. This is working super well. And then I'm like, I need to figure out how to deliver that brilliant idea cutely packaged to all my other clients. Um,
Yeah.
or I'll be thinking about like, okay, I need to do marketing and business development so that our company could grow and I could um, prepare to get like next month's batch of clients in. So, do I need to? I'm thinking through like, how do I pitch to that podcast that I've always wanted to be on or whatnot. So I personally thrive in having a lot of thinking time, but there's also a lot of doing time. So other tasks that I do throughout the day is recording a weekly podcast, preparing for it, editing it. I don't do that
Mhm.
anymore. I've hired that out, but that was a task that I did at the time. Now I just kind of show up, record, and then the rest is produced. But then, so let's say marketing. That includes, maybe your long form content like a podcast or a YouTube, sending out a weekly email, posting on LinkedIn, Instagram, wherever else you choose to post, and then maybe also doing some networking of checking in with past clients or friends or like I said, other podcast hosts that maybe you wanna collaborate with. Maybe you're doing other admin tasks like updating
Mhm.
something silly on the website that needs to be
Mhm.
changed or um, fixing something about your payment processor. And otherwise, you might guess the rest. Client meetings. So, in
Yeah.
my busiest time, I would say I was going up to 10 to 20 hours a week in meetings, which might not sound like a lot, but a lot of those meeting types were between 30 to 90 minutes, with the majority of my client meetings being between 30 and 45 minutes. So those are actually a lot of meeting times, like meeting
Yeah.
slots spread out throughout the day where I'm
Uh-huh.
having to prepare between each of them. I would say the average, like throughout a lot of my time at in just career coaching, was like 8 hours of meetings a week. But again, there's a lot of preparation that goes into that. Otherwise, answering questions over email and doing research so that I could enhance or develop new features in the curriculum that I've developed for my clients. Because hopefully, you hear in my answers that career coaching, this is a big myth, is not just showing up on a call with someone and giving
Mhm.
them your ideas. It's actually that if you are doing that as a career coach, which there are coaches that do, you are selling your time or hours, and you likely won't make very much money because what are they gonna do? Like, think of it as like, "Okay, this should be the same price per hour as, like, my masseuse." I don't
Yeah.
know, like, and that's
That's a
fine,
funny
but,
way to
like,
think about it.
people don't have a frame of reference, but if you're like, "Hey, I'm gonna stick with you for the next up to 6 months until you land the job that you really want, and in that time, we can meet, every week, and you also get all these other resources, and you get lifetime
Mhm.
access to all of my templates and tools." So, even if I get hit by a bus tomorrow, like, Lord willing, that does not happen, you will
You're gonna
actually
be good,
have
though.
everything that you'll be good, I won't. Um, but, you'll have everything that you need in terms of knowledge and our templates and tools in order to go throughout your job hunt as effectively as possible and likely beat out your competition. So, I
Yeah.
do a lot of curriculum development, and that is probably an underestimated part of the job.
Yeah, that sounds like a lot of multitasking, a lot of kind of having to wear different hats, especially, being self-employed. Then you have the business side and your strategy and your clients and your meetings. So, among all of that, what would you say that you spend the majority of your day doing? So, kind of like on a typical day, what are those specific tasks?
Yeah, I think it comes down to marketing, which often comes down to writing or recording something,
Mhm.
your voice, your face, an email, a caption, whatever it is. Um, Implementing that in your marketing system or your course like portal for clients, um, and emailing like Q&A support. So you may have had some emails come in throughout the day of a client that needs something, then getting on client calls to check on their progress and, give them coaching conversations, helping them clarify what they really want to do and how to go about it. Um, then, like, getting really fun, amazing emails about people who, like, everything worked out and their lives changed, and I always, like, save those in a special folder and then also screenshot them
Oh.
and then also look at them a lot. And
You're like, "They're
then
also my wallpaper, and I
yeah,
have them
they're
printed
my
on my
wallpaper.
wall."
They're actually my personality. But, yeah, uh, and then, like, there's always gonna be little technical business admin things. Maybe that's
Of
10% of your
course.
time. Like, yesterday, I was going deep trying to figure out how the heck to pay this very small, but still there, tax bill to the government of North Carolina because I have an employee there, and I was just like, "This is not what I dreamed of." But,
Wow.
it's like the cost of doing business. Like, I get to spend 10% of my time doing annoying things so that I don't have to spend 100% of my time doing annoying things when I was still in my corporate job. It's not
Exactly.
bad.
You're like, "Pick your battles, a win is a win."
That's right, that's right.
And what tools or technologies do you use as part of your job?
Zoom and Google
Yeah.
Suite. So, if you really just had a way to meet virtually like Zoom, a way to email back and forth and share your Google Docs and stuff, and then a payment processor, you like PayPal or whatever the heck. Venmo isn't a very good professional look, so maybe send a real invoice, but some people do Venmo. Um, and so like get a payment processor and then you can be in business and that's all good. So obviously, one would hope that I have gotten a lot more advanced in the 6 years of doing business. So of course, I have so many other different softwares, including an email marketing software like ConvertKit, or now I just use Kajabi, which is also integrated as my course hosting platform where all of my client resources are housed. I also use Notion. I use oh my gosh, so many things. One that's worth mentioning is my client management software. I use Dubsado. Some others will use HoneyBook. They're interchangeable. That houses my client contracts, invoices, reporting on our income, and things like that, as well as automated emails and workflows for appointment reminders. And it's really helpful and it makes you look a lot more professional if you implement a software like that. Um, there's so many others. I like my GarageBand for editing podcasts when I did that.
Oh.
Um, for distributing my podcasts, I use Spotify for podcasters. For my
Mhm.
website, I use Showit. A lot of people use Squarespace or a more drag and drop kind of hosting platform. I use Showit and I'm a big fan because it's a lot more customizable. And people to this day tell me like they became a client because I had the coolest website of, like, any career coach they saw, and so I'm like, "It's worth it." Um, yeah. So those are
Yeah.
a lot of the tools that we use.
All of that with the basis of a good laptop, a good
That's
computer.
right. Yeah, I still don't use a desktop, I just have my little MacBook Air, and she and
And
I are all we need
that
to
gets you through. She's
yeah.
always gonna be there.
Well, I hope so, oh my
Kelsey,
gosh.
what parts of your job are the most exciting or interesting to you?
At the beginning, it was having meaningful conversations with people one on one and like seeing them experience an amazing life change. I would
Mhm.
say that's because I was also like really starved for a feeling of meaning and deep connection in my corporate
Yeah.
job. So that was easily the most exciting for a long time, and it still is. But over time, it's kind of morphed towards like, I just love being an inventor. Like I talked about
Mhm.
loving as a kid, I just love creating something from nothing. And by the way,
Mhm.
if a listener doesn't resonate with that, that doesn't mean you shouldn't be a career coach. Like there's
Of
so many
course.
different personalities for career coaches, and so much of it works. But I just really, really love these days, like stepping into the true like entrepreneur hat and figuring out how to solve the same problem that I've always felt called to, which is help people find that station in society that they are called to serve in and flourish in it. But I'm figuring out every year that goes by a new and bigger way to do that. So I've really loved um, actually, my day now is, like, a lot more solo work and thinking and executing time to, like, build my big vision. If you don't
Mhm.
like solo work, obviously, you could still be a career coach.
Of
Um,
course.
I think if I liked being in meetings all the time, I would still just be a career coach, but I'm more of a
Mhm.
lone wolf type.
Yeah, and like you said before, there's so many different types and different ways you can, pursue this profession.
Yes.
Now, on the opposite of all of that, what parts of your job are emotionally draining, challenging, or even sometimes boring things that you really don't want to spend time doing, but you still kind of have to do to get through the
Yeah.
job?
Yeah. I think the most difficult parts is really, like, for me, and I would say this is most people. So I do have at this point like a lot of career coaching friends. I've seen a lot of people come and go in the industry.
Mm.
Um, and strangely, like for some reason, 6 years really seems to be this point where a lot of people quit. It's I don't know what it is about it, but it's like 5 or 6 years. It's like you have to change something about your business because it could be really, really hard to hold so many people's emotions. Because
Yeah.
if you're a successful career coach, you're probably helping a lot of people. And for whatever reason, what I've experienced in life as a career coach is like wins and losses seem to come in waves. And I don't know why, but that can make it seem like everything is awesome and oh my gosh, I have the coolest job in the world. And then it's like, why is everyone struggling? Is the job market always going to be this bad? Are people like, sometimes you'll have some bad apples that like hardcore don't take personal responsibility and expect like I don't know, a magic solution to come out of nowhere. And then this has not been the majority, but some people get kind of blamey and lash out. And for things that like are not outside of my control, like a so I would just like really say like managing so many people's emotions for such a delicate thing. And for career coaching, they're likely paying a premium price for your service because it is such
Mhm.
a in-depth and important and intimate uh, service. And so after they've invested a couple $1,000s, if it's been like longer than they thought, before getting a job, when, so many things as a career coach are totally outside of your control. You're like, I couldn't predict that a lot of people would all of a sudden want to go into UX research because I had a client testimonial of someone that like loves their job so much and it's like a easy, cushy tech job. And then the tech industry had to bubble. And in the
Yeah.
last year, there's just been, like, so many layoffs. And so, yeah, you really have to, like, stay strong and focus on not, um, carrying people's emotions, but sometimes it just gets really hard, when people are
Mhm.
shoveling a lot of negativity and they want to just use the whole session to vent, when you're like, "Oh, I really wanna just, like, help you, and I wanna, like, actually go get something done,"
And
but
be
sometimes
productive.
people aren't willing. Yeah, so I've had to, like, put in my contracts I started doing this a while back of, like, that's a very valid need. That is something that there's a reason why I refer clients to therapists, but they have to acknowledge that I'm not a therapist. I'm a career coach, and likewise, therapists all the time refer their clients to me
To you.
because they're like, "I'm not in this profession to talk about your job."
Yeah.
So we do a lot of trading.
A lot of interchanging clients
Yeah,
back and forth.
yeah.
Yeah.
They have to
That
remind their clients that they're not a career coach, and I have to remind mine that I'm not a therapist.
that's so funny, and I'm sure that that can get very heavy. What are some ways that you have kind of been able to,
Mm,
manage all of that and kind of disconnect from your work? Because, like you were saying earlier, it's not necessarily something where you can just clock out. It's always on your mind. You're always
mm,
thinking about it, those thoughts can't necessarily leave your mind. That's not something you can control. So what are some ways that you've been able to kind of manage that?
mm. I think responding quickly to people, like if I get a situation coming up with a client that's stressful, younger, less experienced me would be like, "Oh, this is serious. Like, I need some time to think about this." And
Mhm.
meanwhile, there's this building pressure to come up with like the absolute perfect response. But sometimes they're upset because nothing can be done.
Yeah.
And so it's important to respond with empathy immediately and acknowledge and validate what they're going through. So at least they could only be stressed about the problem, not about like, oh, is my career coach like really going to support me through this? They get validated right
Mhm.
away that I am. And that also makes me feel good because I could like tell them, I hear you, I see you, like, I'm sorry this is going on. I might ask some more clarifying questions to like see what can we do about this. And then I'll say like, let's talk about this when we next meet on Tuesday." And so I don't have to spend my whole weekend being like, okay, Monday morning, I have to force myself to respond to that person. I
That's
already
great.
did.
Yeah,
It
that's
honors
awesome.
everybody a lot better.
Yeah, I'm sure it does. And when it comes to being a career coach, talk to us a little bit about your setting. So, are you in office? Can you be in office? Can you be in a remote hybrid setting as a career coach?
Yeah, most that I know, we're all remote if you're self-employed. I don't know a lot of people that choose to be in an office. I mean, they might go to a co-working space if they need to be around
Mm.
people, but otherwise, if you are traditionally employed as a career coach, I imagine that there's a variety of options for being uh, remote or hybrid if you're working for a regular like for-profit organization. They might require you to be in office, but then if you're a career coach or a career counselor for a academic institution, I'm pretty sure a lot of those jobs are mostly in office. Don't quote me on that. I'm just giving my vibe. I think,
Yeah.
well, that's so hilarious. I realize the point of this interview is to quote me on the things I think about career coaching, but yeah, the impression I get is that do your own research, but academic jobs might land you more in office.
Got it. And what about the hours? Are you working set hours as a career coach, or can you be flexible with that?
You could definitely be flexible. So maybe I'll respond to a concern that potential career coaches might be having of like, do I need to meet with clients on nights and weekends after their work hours? I have been able to, for most of my time in career coaching, have a like, sometimes I've met with people at 8, but most time it's not. I've had like a 9 to 6 PM, 9 a.m. to 6
Okay.
PM hours, and I don't work on the weekends. I've had some people ask me to, but I just respectfully decline because you really do need to protect your energy and all of your heart to serve for the people who it's going to work out like for you to serve. You can't burn yourself out for one person and then show up less wholeheartedly for the rest.
Exactly. Because you cannot pour, as an empty cup. You have nothing to pour into other people. So definitely
Yeah.
taking that time for yourself.
Yep.
Are there any busy seasons in this job? And if so, what parts of the year typically look the busiest? They tend to pick up a little bit more.
It's pretty even, but I do notice the most clients signing up, like reaching out for career coaching around December and January, so New Year vibes. And then strangely, well, some in the spring and fall, but summer tends to be a busy time. So
Mm.
July for the last couple years has always been my record month. Um, I think people start realizing like okay, yeah, my resolution was to like try to make it work and it's not working, so I'm going to change now and I
Yeah.
want to do it before the holidays because things start slowing down for me as a career coach in October and November because a lot of clients and sometimes December um a lot of clients are like recruiters are, like, not always in office, and I'm not always in
Mm.
office, and I have witnessed that, like, recruiting still happens, and people are getting hired every single month of the year, but clients will assume that I need to get my job search done before the holidays, so they'll reach out in the summer instead of waiting. Although I wanna reiterate, you can reach out at any time. It's not real that companies aren't hiring in November and December. It's not real.
Yeah, it's just kind of like a mind thing, I guess. It's like a mind
It's a
game. They're
mind
like,
thing.
"Wait, when's the smartest time I should start doing this?"
Yeah.
Yeah.
So July,
And then
always our record month.
that's so funny. You already know. Once it hits July, she's on a roll. She's going.
That's right.
What do people underestimate about this profession?
In terms of what people underestimate, I think it's how much how much business building or marketing you have to do, if you're going in the self-employed version of career coaching, you really
Mm.
have to you have to be a very competent business person, um, and you won't be at first, and that's really humbling. It's really
Mm.
humbling. So you might underestimate how much the first year or 2 sucks. Like, it sucks, but there's
Yeah.
also so many amazing moments that happen that make it worth it. Like, I loved the excitement of starting a new thing, so even though I wasn't really making money and I was like, "Ah, I know that my website looks so cheesy and awful, but I don't really know what else to put on there. This is so humbling. Oh my gosh." But there's a lot of exciting moments to keep you in it, but um, also don't underestimate how awesome your second and third and fourth year can be, or what your 10th year could be like. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh,
In order
anything's
to get
possible.
there, in
Yeah,
order to get there though, you need to go through that first and second year and grow and learn. And
yeah,
then once that passes, I'm sure it's like a burden lifted off your shoulder.
yeah. It's totally okay to be naive though and be like, oh my gosh,
Of
no, this
course.
chick's trying to be a downer. It's gonna be awesome. That's fine. Whatever works to get you in it, but like just don't quit if it ends up being hard. It could still be
Yeah.
worth it.
Because in every job, I'm sure that first couple years, even months, can, be a very transitional period where you kind of have to get accustomed. Not everyone's going to be perfect right off the bat. So that's
Yeah.
something that I'm sure you think people should keep in mind.
Yeah, because it's not like you were a marketer in your corporate job and then you're a freelance marketer. You likely were not a career coach in your last job. You're
Mhm.
starting something totally new in terms of
Yeah.
probably starting a business, figuring out how to be a totally different type of professional, and also like manage the freedom of being self-employed without abusing it and being lazy. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, that is so many things. So if you're going to go through that, just know like I'm giving you a big hug and it's gonna be worth it. It's okay.
Yeah, that's so true. I hadn't thought about it like that. So I'm glad that you bring up that point because I'm sure that, having to learn and juggle so many things at once, and you can't really go from career coach to being a career coach. It's like you're gonna start and that's how you're gonna get your start. So sure that was a lot to handle at once.
You bet. Yeah.
What do people overestimate about this profession? So any overhyped assumption that you typically hear where you're like, it does not look like that at all. Anything that comes to mind with that?
Okay, I really did think about this one like a lot, and I cannot think of anything people overestimate about
Mm.
this profession. Like it is people tell me all the time, they're like, your job sounds so cool. And I'm like, correct. It is so cool. Like, it is. I have nothing
Mhm.
else to say. It's awesome.
Yeah. No, I love it. Let's move on then. That sounds great. What is the fastest way for somebody to get into this profession? So especially if they have a non-traditional background, they don't really have any experience with business or career coaching like you were saying. What's typically the fastest way they can get to where you are?
Yeah, I have a lot of conviction behind this one. So I think that you could start the fastest by just serving maybe 3 or 4 people for free. Don't even you could try to charge if you want to, but my biggest game or method to getting a fast start in a profession like this, and I've helped other people start coaching businesses. So I've had a lot of business consulting clients that I've helped through this process. And what I have seen work best is have don't try to start optimizing for profit right away. Optimize for credibility building and
Love it.
take 3 or 4 people that you give a tangible service as a total freebie for them and just ask for a testimonial in exchange that you could
Oh,
broadcast as this is a result I have delivered for past clients. And as you could guess, it snowballs on itself until you have so many testimonials. And
yeah.
like someone like me, I have so many clients who have showed their face on my podcast and like spoke their praises and written things on my
Wow.
website and all that. And it took time to build up. And I think I could have been more successful faster, which I'm not mad about my timeline, but like technically, I think I could have gone bigger and faster if I really actually wasn't worried about making money in the beginning, like get another part-time job or
Mm,
whatever, or side
mm.
hustle it. I had a part-time job for a while, and instead of just saying, "Can I be your career coach?" That was a mistake I made. I was like, "Can I help you through like career direction stuff?" And it makes it a lot easier for someone to say yes if you're giving them something tangible and defined instead of like, and making them uncomfortable, wondering like, am I gonna have to meet with her like forever? What if I decide I don't even want to change jobs? Like, how do I tell her like, can we stop meeting? Just say,
Yeah.
can I help you with your resume? Can I help you with your LinkedIn? And you might be thinking, I'm not getting into this to be a resume writer. That's like a misconception that career coaches are just resume writers or whatever.
Mhm.
Um, I have like more of an end-to-end approach of like discerning your calling, clarifying what exactly that job is called, marketing to that job through preparing your resume, LinkedIn, networking approach, all of that. Applying, optimizing your applications and your cover letters and pitching approach, interview strategy and practice, and negotiation support. Um, and so if you're doing all those things as like a new person, first off, you probably can't because it takes time to build competence in every single one of those little deliverables. So
Mhm.
just say, I'll do your resume and LinkedIn, and it's not your passion project, that's okay, but it can, you could say you had a client and it gave them something that's easy to say yes to. And if you want to help them with clarity and direction work, you could say, um, can we meet like 3 times to talk through your career direction and vision? And that will be easier for them to say yes to you. Ask them to write a testimonial. Google episodes or like listen to podcasts on how to write a really great testimonial. There's a formula to it. Don't ask, don't just give people free rein because they'll be like, she's great. And that
Love her.
looks cheesy. And it doesn't really help people, new people say yes to you. Um, yeah, that's
Wow,
what I
that
would
those are
recommend.
awesome. Yeah, those are super helpful tips that I'm sure you can only, figure out in those first couple years where you're trying to manage how exactly should I approach this? And kind of like you said, having more specific, tangible tasks instead of just overall, like, let me help you. No, it's like a specific, let's get this done. And then from there, I'm sure it blossoms into your full-time career.
Exactly, it totally can, and you could up your price, like, first off, you could start charging after those, like, 3 people or whatever,
Mhm.
and then you could just slowly increase your price every, like, 2 to 5 clients, and because 'cause you're growing your competence every single time that you serve a new little batch of clients, and, you could probably grow from charging, like, a minimal amount, like, I think in the beginning, I did, like, 7 sessions for, like, and then, like, deliverables that I would exercises that I would give them in between. I think it was something like $1,200, and then I was like, "None of this, like, 7-session business, what is that?" And
Yeah.
I'd be like, "I'm helping you for, like, 3 months," or now it's, like, 6 months, up to 6 months. I don't, if they get a job faster than that, I'm not gonna make them marry me and meet with me all the time. But, um, and then it's, like, up to, I was charging, like, 5,000 for a while because I was, like, a very comprehensive bespoke service, but now I serve, like, more people with, like, more of a hybrid group one-on-one approach for 3,500. So, I share all those prices to, like, give you a framework of if you want to start there, go ahead. Everybody's making up their prices all the time. So I just want to share what I can to give people like a way to think about it. And then maybe like increase your prices like a couple $100 at a time until you
Mhm.
feel confident.
Yeah. As a career coach, can you work with businesses and larger scale companies, or do you typically work with more individual one-on-one clients?
That is such a great question. I do know career coaches that do group facilitation workshops with companies, but that's more like executive coaching. So if you're just coaching a leader that a company is hiring you to coach all their leaders, okay, that's one thing.
Got it.
That's different than career coaches are often in the context of helping an individual land a job wherever
Mhm.
they want. This is different than recruiting. Recruiters are hired by the, I do, oh, I should clarify. I do get that question. Like, how is a career coach different than a recruiter? Or some people think I'm a recruiter, and I'm like, no, 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 no. So a recruiter is hired by a company. So if they're an agency recruiter, they are hired by a company to place someone in the jobs that they are contracted for. So they're trying to get candidates in those jobs. Or if they're an in-house recruiter, I mean, it's the same thing. They're just like, I'm a recruiter for Oracle. You're just trying to get all the Oracle jobs filled. But if you're a career coach, I'm not paid by the companies. I'm paid by the candidates to represent them wherever they want to go, to help
Got it.
polish
Okay.
them and put their best foot forward so they could have the best chance at getting whatever job they want. So my only agenda is the clients. My agenda is not with getting them in a certain job that a company is hiring me for. Um, was there something that I missed in there? Or I hope I answered your question.
No, yeah, that was perfect. I just wanted to make sure to clear that up because that was a question that came to my mind as you were talking about kind of the different types of career coaches. So, in case anyone that was listening wanted to know, like, okay, what if I want to work for a certain company? Can I still be a career coach? So, I'm glad you were able to kind of clear that up.
That's a really good point. I realized I could say two more things. One is you could be a team and organizational development coach. So
Hmm.
not just working with the leaders, but helping their teams like grow in their strengths or confidence or like collaboration or whatever. Um, So team and organizational coach, leadership executive coach, those are another terms. And then otherwise, like I said, you can be a career coach. Some companies do hire career coaches so that employees can have still, actually, this is cool, can have an objective resource to like when I was at PwC, I scoured our internal employee website and I found on like the deep web that they actually did hire a career coach. And when I got on the phone with her for like a free session, because she's hired by PwC to serve people like me, an employee at the time, I was
Right.
like, okay, I you're not gonna tell anybody what I say, right? 'Cause and she was like, "Yeah, no, I'm not allowed to pass anything to your boss," or and I was like, "Oh, God bless, thank you." So
Yes.
some companies allow their career coaches to be objective and private with their information.
Perfect. Yeah, that sounds awesome. That's kind of something that I was wondering. So I'm glad that you were able to kind of either clear that misconception up or provide another option because there's so much that you can do under the whole coaching umbrella.
Yep.
Yeah. So, what other fields are people coming from before becoming a career coach? Do you ever see themes with that, or is it just kind of random?
A lot, so I would say, a lot of random in terms of, like, I'll try to serve whoever I was before. So if I was a consultant, I'm gonna be, or if I would like, I was a consultant for a Big 4 firm and I went to A&M. So I was like, I'm gonna try to build rapport with all the people who also fit that category. But, there's career coaching friends that I've had that were lawyers, and now they're a career coach for lawyers who either want to get a new job or pivot into a different industry altogether. Um, Really anything you could be a nurse and go into it. Just whatever, like, if you have a business mind and a heart to help people, you can. But I think that the people who really get a leg up are the ones who are coming from being in HR, particularly in recruiting. So,
That makes sense.
um, yeah, I'm not sure I have to explain that too much. It makes a lot of sense that you could say, "Oh, I was a recruiter for 10 years at these top companies. Let me help you be a great candidate." I'm like, "Bruh, I wish I had that. That's a
Yeah.
great sales pitch. That's so good."
You're like, oh, it must be nice.
Yeah. Uh,
Yeah. And what do you think that somebody has to be really good at or really enjoy doing to be successful in a role like yours?
mm, uh you really have to be good at and enjoy talking to people, but particularly, I think it's important to be a very effective communicator in writing, thinking, and talking in terms of being persuasive and rapport building. Because I really thought about this, and I could say I spend the majority of all my days just helping people build rapport and appear as credible as possible in order
Yeah.
to truthfully like persuade someone to give them a job. And that has to be modeled from me. Like I have to be good at being learning how to be credible and impressive and persuasive. Um, I would say someone also has to be not good at just like thinking and speaking clearly and effectively and persuasively, but you also have to be decisive. So, by very nature, as a career coach, the people who are going to come to you are not always, but a lot of the time, really struggling with indecision, overthinking, overwhelm, all those things. They might not be very practiced at being a decisive person who, evaluates things very like methodically, makes a decision and is confident in walking in it and doesn't like waffle all the time and trust themselves to like work it out.
Hmm.
And doesn't have a unclear thinking around like, oh, this is gonna like ruin my whole life. Like you have to be very careful about thought distortions. And so if you don't have to resonate right now with being the most confident person, the most decisive person in the world, but do you want to be? Do you want to grow in those skills? You can, and then you could turn around and help other people with that. So big on decisiveness, critical thinking, um, like being a real coach, someone who's like really willing to like listen
Hmm.
and have be extremely skilled at asking the right questions to unlock insight from them, not just tell them what to do. Because you're not a consultant and you're not a mentor. Mentors Consultants just tell you what to do. Teachers just tell you what to do. Coaches help you realize from within what's authentic for you and then how to come up with your own solutions and then execute them.
Love
And
that.
that's like way more transformative, and so that's even why a lot of corporate leaders have been learning more coaching skills so they could develop more resourcefulness in their employees because they realize that just being like a tell you to do it kind of person isn't as effective. And mentors are different because mentors, some career coaches, some people think career coaches are this, and it's a misconception. Oh, it's a misconception. Again, that I'm just helping people accomplish what I've already done, and that would be really bad news for them and for me because for them, I mean, I was really young. I'm still pretty young. I'm 30. So therefore, like, why would 50-year-olds want to hire me? They don't want to
Yeah.
be me.
Yeah.
They want to go do something else. And so mentors are telling you how to repeat their own track record of success so you could walk in it. But coaches are helping the person develop their own life vision and walk in it. And so you're a very objective decision-making source. So that's why younger coaches can help older people. And I get that question a lot. And a lot of my clients are older than me, which is crazy.
That is. Wow. I like how you were able to kind of take all these big ideas and big aspects of being a career coach and kind of like simplify and organize them
I
and kind of
tried.
squash some misconceptions as well.
Yeah.
How long do you think that it typically takes to get good at this job or even just to get comfortable? You can speak from your personal experience or just overall.
2 to 3 years. But
Yep.
that's just a blip in time in the whole scheme of things.
Wow. And is there a promotion path in, this industry? And if there is, what does that look like?
I'm not aware of one. I think it's pretty classic for particularly self-employment to just look like getting more effective at business but keeping the same title.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, so
And
that's what I would
continuing
say.
continuing to grow, but with the same title.
That's right.
What is the average salary for someone at your level? So this can vary, I'm sure, but if you could just provide like a broad range, that would be great.
Yeah, I want to say my gut answer on this earnings are opaque in my industry, but the impression I've gotten is 80 to 200,000, maybe 250 a year, but that's revenue.
Mhm.
So it might actually be salaried. So salaried, I've gotten the impression that depending on if you're part-time or full-time as a career coach for a company, you might be between like 30 and $120,000. Um, feel free to do your own research and disregard this because there might be other unicorn opportunities out there that don't fit this mold. I'm very sure that there are.
Of
Um,
course.
but if you're self-employed, people with my level of experience are a lot more like at least $100,000 a year, but that's revenue. And as I've established, like as you get more experienced in business, you get a lot more confident of what you really want to spend time on and what you definitely don't anymore. So I have a variety of contractors and employees that I hire. But the I just mentioned the base of like what I think a lot of people with my level of experience are making at least 100K a year in revenue, but I think it's like in the multi-millions for those that go more towards course creation and content creation. I have a personal conviction around like I am building more of that out and developing a much more scalable model. I've always been scaling it up over time, but I still have a big conviction around maintaining one-on-one bespoke services because people need conversation. I tend to
Of
think
course.
courses really just help. They do help the client, but I think it's a real lifestyle business for the business owner.
Yeah.
So
And you're looking for more of like that intimate connection with someone.
yeah, so that does mean there's a time constraint. So you can move more towards an agency model like I have. Like I have a career coach who is also on my team and she's helping me serve a lot more people. Um, so I mean, for us, it's more like 200,000 a year.
Got it. And whenever people in your field move on, what type of work do they typically go into next? Or do they usually just retire as a career coach and their entire career is dedicated to that?
I've seen this happen with a couple of peers. They either decided to join a company in like some interesting kind of entrepreneurial role. Like I would say the theme here is like they go on, if they were self-employed before, they're going to be either self-employed again and just start a different company or hire themselves out of the business like they might still own it but they'll have a variety of employees that are doing the day-to-day work or if they're
Okay.
totally out of career coaching and they've sold their business or just closed it then like I said, they'll either start whatever other passion project. Maybe it's career related, career services related. I had a friend that like started a recruiting agency, then he actually did really like career coaching, so he went back to it. And then I had another friend who she had a successful coaching practice, and then she was um, like an executive at a company, like in their business development or something.
Mm-hmm.
But then
Mm-hmm.
I guess she went back to career coaching. So I think,
Oh, really? She jumped
yeah,
back?
yeah, it's a mixed bag.
Okay, well, yeah, that's good to know. That's really interesting. Are there any books or resources, programs, certifications that you would recommend to somebody wanting to get their start in career coaching, or are there any that you would not recommend?
Yeah, I think go ahead and look into what I recommended of IPEC and NLP through Transform Destiny. By the way, there's a ton of different NLP organizations, like so many. And there's one I think called like NLP.com, and it makes it sound like they were the ones that created it. They didn't, they just got a really good domain. Um,
Got it.
and so I really do stand by Transform Destiny. I think that they're a very good company, even though their website looks wretched and so cheesy. Like honestly, the marketing is not good, but the content is there. Um, and their customer service is really good. Otherwise, skip certification programs and just listen to a lot of podcasts from LinkedIn top, like read LinkedIn top voices, like career voices. There's a lot of recruiters and other career coaches, career experts, career strategists that share awesome things on LinkedIn about like reposting other people's like what they tried and succeeded at and new job search techniques. You could listen to podcasts from other career coaches that share techniques. You could also just listen to coaching, like life coaching podcasts to help
Mhm.
you understand more techniques around the inner transformation and mindset work. Helping clients with that, as I've said, is very important. But my point is like a remarkable amount of information out there is published for free. Um,
Yes.
but what makes you credible is not just like, oh, I listened to a bunch of podcasts, but I like tried things out. I modeled it myself. I helped other people get a transformation and then, um, you know, charge low or nothing if you're not like an expert yet. And then you'll become an expert by having more and more testimonials under your belt.
Yeah, I'm really glad that you mentioned that because I'm sure so many people think they have to pay this crazy amount of money in exchange for credibility, but there's so many resources out there, like you were mentioning some of them. So, to any of the listeners, be sure to take advantage of all of that.
Absolutely. I actually had someone tell me when I first said I was going to be a career coach, he said, you should get your master's in HR. And I was like, oh my gosh, that is the deepest, most intense waste of time. Like, do you want to just come over to my house and burn my entire net worth in a fire instead? Like that sounds more fun and more time efficient. Because
Oh my
HR,
gosh.
like if you want to learn about recruiting, you could actually just go to free resources online or do market research interviews with recruiters. Or furthermore, you could actually, if you really want to learn all the recruiting skills, why don't you just get a job as a recruiter and at least you'd be getting paid to learn. Oh my gosh.
Exactly.
But if you're going for a master's program in HR, you are going to have to learn about uh compensation analytics, like all the detailed like policies and all these things that are completely irrelevant to becoming a career
Huh.
coach. So I would say traditional, like going back and getting some kind of undergrad or master's degree is a very deep and intense financial and time mistake
Yeah, well, there you have
for
it,
career
another
coaching.
misconception. Yeah, another squash misconception that I'm sure people are hearing this and they're like, "Wait, do I have to do this in order to be
Please don't.
successful?" So I'm sure it's so refreshing to hear you say, "No, you can just access some free resources that are just as good."
Yeah, seriously.
Well, Kelsey, you have provided such valuable knowledge. I have learned so much throughout our conversation, and I'm sure our listeners have as well. So, just to kind of wrap up this conversation with our last question, if you were to have the chance to look back at yourself at the beginning of your career, what would you tell her?
Aw, I I just really want to tell her that she's not crazy and all these things can happen. Like, what's that? Oh my gosh, I should have thought of my answer because this is gonna end up real cheesy but very heartfelt. There's this quote that's from I think Picasso, and it says like everything you imagine is real.
Oh, I
And
love that.
it's written across this like huge building in downtown Austin. And whenever I see that, I'm just like, I get kind of emo about it because I'm like, wow, all you imagine is real and
Yeah.
you can do it. So I wanted to be an inventor. I wanted that like as a little kid, and that seemed crazy, but I invent things all the time. And I've like made up two companies, just like made them up. There wasn't really a Christian career coach out there when I
Wow.
started, in the way I was doing it. And Job Dictionary totally just made it up. Like I guess like the closest thing to it is like the occupational outlook handbook from the Bureau of Labor and Statistics, but like girl, have you seen that? Like it's not really our competitor. And so it's just like if you have a heart to go help, like go help. If you have a heart to create, go create. And if people don't believe in you, that's okay. Have compassion on them. I think, yeah, I could totally see how that's unbelievable, but I'm gonna keep on going.
Yeah.
And I really think that you could create a job out of anything. And especially my 20-year-old self who was still in college really, really needed to hear, like, I think she really needed to see me now and to realize, like, you're not stupid and crazy. You're not less than others because you're more soft skill oriented than like you're
Mhm.
not the best coder or the best finance person, but that's okay.
Wow. That's just so inspiring. I like got teary-eyed just hearing you say that because your 6-year-old self, I want to be an inventor. I mean, it happened in
Yeah.
different ways. I'm sure she didn't know exactly what she meant, but it happened. So, how full circle. And that's inspiring to me. And I'm sure it is to every single person listening to this episode. So, thank you for sharing that.
Thank you so much, Alexia. This has been so fun.
Of course. Thank you for coming on, Kelsey. We really appreciated all of the knowledge that you shared. And if people want to reach out to you or follow along with your work, where can they find you?
They can go to thecalledcareer.com. They could also go to Instagram at Kelsey_thecalledcareer, or they could listen to Audrey and I's podcast, Answer the Call, on any podcast platform they prefer.
Sounds great. Thank you so much, Kelsey. Have a great day.
Thank you. You just got one episode closer to learning about the world of jobs out there. To explore the rest of our career categories and find your best fit, go to jobdictionary.com to sign up for the beta users waitlist. Then subscribe here to find the next episodes coming out this week. And as always, drop us a comment, review, or message to let us know how we could better attune our episodes to your specific needs. Follow us on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, X, Threads, Pinterest, and wherever else you're on socials to go get our short, snappy preview reels that expose you to new job options every day. Because here at Job Dictionary, we believe your big aha moment can be just one scroll away. Go check it out and get out there. Cheers!